Did you know about all the new games on Xbox Game Pass? I thought I did, but it turns out a lot of them flew under the radar. Today we're covering 15 of the best new games on Xbox Game Pass in July 2024. And while we're moving through the list, drop a comment below and let me know what you're playing on Game Pass right now. Let's get started with number 15. Are you missing all those good times in Elden Ring and wanting a game that feels similar? That's where Lords of the Fallen comes in. A Souls-like that is clearly heavily inspired by Elden Ring in both look and feel. The main point of difference for Lords of the Fallen is the Umbral Lamp and Umbral Realm. You're able to traverse between planes in this game using this lamp, and it shows you things you couldn't see in the normal world. After playing, I was left very intrigued by the Umbral Realm and what that presents, but ultimately, I think most things Elden Ring just does better. It's pretty hard living in the shadow of the Erd Tree. See what I did there? But that's also the beauty of Game Pass, so try it for yourself and let us know what you think. As soon as I heard those first few notes of the theme song, I knew I was in for a cozy good time. This is Rolling Hills Make Sushi, Make Friends. It's very much an Animal Crossing-esque game, kind of like if Dave the Diver and Animal Crossing combined forces. You play as Sushi Bot who comes to Rolling Hills looking to open a world-class sushi restaurant. You're given the keys to the local sushi shop, and it's up to you to serve the customers what they want, buy new ingredients, level up your recipes, and continue to expand your sushi empire. If you're missing the simpler days of Animal Crossing in 2020, check out Rolling Hills for a lean slice of the life sim pie. So this next game reminds me of Hollow Knight and Nobody Saves the World if you've ever played it. This is Haunty. It's a twin-stick shooter that takes place in the afterlife. You play as a ghost trying to make sense of their memories and understand who they were, while also fighting bad guys and trying not to get eaten by the darkness. This is a stylish, fun little twin-stick shooter. It looks great, it controls great. There's also this really cool mechanic called haunting. It allows you to shoot at different objects in the environment and basically take them over, and it unlocks new gameplay mechanics and ways to solve puzzles. This is a nice, lean, 10-hour game. If you like the look of this, definitely check it out. Up next on the list is Octopath Traveler. I think in general, Xbox is a little starved for JRPGs, so it's great to see Octopath Traveler joining the Xbox Game Pass ranks, and even better news, if you love this game, Octopath Traveler 2 is also on Game Pass. The art style here is just incredible. I mean, look at this game. It's so nostalgic and beautiful. Combat is also excellent, feeling old school while also adding some fresh new twists. There's a vulnerability system in this game that forces you to exploit enemy weaknesses to maximize your effectiveness in combat. Everything here is just so tightly put together and polished. If you're looking for a new JRPG, Octopath Traveler might be the one. If you're looking for a rootin' tootin' good time, look no further than SteamWorld Dig. No one talks like that in the game. There's actually no real voiceover. So in SteamWorld Dig, you play as a little robot guy who comes to this town looking for his uncle. Tragedy befalls the uncle, and you now take up his mantle and start exploring these caves and mines, digging deeper and deeper until you hit the other Earth? I don't really know. This is very much a Metroidvania-esque. As you progress further and further, you'll unlock new gear, and while you're digging, you'll also mine for resources that you sell in the village up top. I really enjoyed my time with this game. It's nice and polished, it satisfies that 2D platformer itch, and just like Octopath Traveler, if you like SteamWorld Dig, there's a SteamWorld Dig 2 on Game Pass as well. Coming in at number 10.
Help, I've fallen. I'm trying to get subscribers right now. Help, I've fallen and I can't get up, but perhaps if you press that button right there.
Coming in at number 10 is Chia, a unique action-adventure open-world game where you play as a young girl named Chia who has to navigate this archipelago of islands. The developer was inspired by his real-life home, and I think that really shows in this game. It really feels like a love letter to this place that you're exploring. I'm also a sucker for any game where you have a little boat and you can just float around on it and get off and on as you please. Chia fulfills that fantasy, but also, I've never played a game where you can possess a coconut, aim yourself across an island, launch it away, hit a bunch of other coconuts, then possess half a coconut and roll around like a crazy person. It's a really cool mechanic. If you're looking for something that's Breath of the Wild-esque with its own unique identity, check out Chia. Next up, we have Flock, which is a brand new game to Xbox Game Pass as of July 16th, 2024. So this is an exciting one, brand new to the service, definitely worth checking out. In Flock, you play as a bird rider, flying through this cloudscape that's absolutely beautiful. I've seen this game compared to a hug in video game form, and that's really what it feels like. The central gameplay loop is kind of Pokemon-esque, but it's much more laid back. You fly around to all these different islands in the clouds and search for creatures. And what's really cool about this game is anytime you find a new creature, there's a mini game where you have to observe the creature and then look at a list of different subspecies of that creature, and based on the behavior, decide which variant it is. It's not that complicated, but it's engaging enough that it feels fun to get it right every time you find a new creature. There's also another mini game in Flock where you can charm creatures and have them follow you around. It starts to feel a bit like a Pokemon party and everyone's flying around with you. It's really neat. I was genuinely surprised by this game. I didn't really know anything about it, but when I booted it up, I really loved it. I think I'll definitely be coming back to this one. If you're in the mood for something a little more puzzling, perplexing, check out The Case of the Golden Idol. Now, this is a very unique entry on the list. If you've played Return of the Obra Dinn, that would probably be the closest comparison to this, but it's still its own thing. Each level is a scene that's related directly to the case you're trying to solve. You have to interact with different objects on the page to determine what's going on. The way to beat each level is there's a final kind of test with a bunch of blanks, kind of like a mystery Mad Libs, and based on everything you find in the scene, you need to fill in the blanks correctly. It'll tell you how many you have wrong or right, or at least give you a ballpark of where you're at so you know how close you are to being right. But ultimately, it's up to you to use everything at your disposal to figure out who's who and what's happening. The Case of the Golden Idol feels like a perfect rainy Sunday with your coffee kind of game. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's just the vibe it gives off when I'm playing it. The Callisto Protocol is a spiritual successor to Dead Space. It has all the dismemberment and corpse stomping action, if you're into that. There's nothing wrong with violence in games, obviously, but if that's not your style, maybe steer clear of this one. This one gets real gory, real intense, real fast. Having said that, I don't really think Callisto Protocol feels much like a horror game. It's much more in the realm of action horror, kind of like Resident Evil 4 or 8, if you've happened to play those. There's an interesting mechanic here where to block and dodge attacks, you just use the left stick. So if you want to dodge, you push it left or right, and if you want to dodge again, you have to do the opposite direction, and then blocking is pulling back. It's interesting. I feel like it's a love or hate it kind of mechanic. But again, the Callisto Protocol was met with a very mixed reception, so this is the perfect game to try out for yourself on Game Pass. And of course, let us know what you think. Up next on the list is Humanity. This is a very trippy puzzle game where you play as a dog leading humanity to salvation. Yeah. So playing as the dog savior, your goal is to get humanity to a predetermined target on the map. As you progress through the game, you'll unlock new commands you can give the humans. The first one you unlock is change direction, and that allows you to create a path towards the target tile. And then the second one that unlocks is called jump. This game gets real silly, real fast. The whole premise is ridiculous, but I kind of love this. There's a great soundtrack in the background. It still feels very zen while being, like I said, kind of trippy, but it's a really fun puzzle game. It feels satisfying to solve every level. I think this one should definitely be on your radar. If you love Stardew Valley, you might want to consider checking out My Time at Sandrock. For those that don't know, My Time at Sandrock is a sequel to My Time at Portia, another life sim game that was basically 3D Stardew Valley. Sandrock is no different. You come to a small town to become the next builder as the last one is retiring. You get to know the townsfolk, gather resources, build stuff, and then fulfill orders for buildables so that you can make money. There are all kinds of life sims and Stardew Valley clones, but I really think Sandrock is a great alternative to Stardew if you've seen everything that game has to offer. And question of the day, if you're still here, I'd love to know if you've ever played a farming sim or life sim like Sandrock. Do you think this is a game you might try? Coming in at number 4, and easily the most underrated game on this list, is Immortals of Avium. This game feels like it's trying to be a Marvel Cinematic Universe game, and I mean that in the best way. It's big, loud, bombastic, and everything comes together really nicely. You play as a young street thief who learns that he's able to wield all colors of magic, which is a really special talent in this world. He's immediately conscripted into the army and starts his training as a Magnai. I don't really know what else to say about this other than this feels good. It's not a first-person shooter, it's a first-person magic shooter, and the developers are very careful to call that out. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you have all of these different spells that feel like different types of guns, your assault rifle, your shotgun, your rocket launcher, and you also have all these utility spells like a whip that kind of lassos guys in. My favorite thing to do in this game that still hasn't gotten old is lasso guys in, use my shotgun and blast them point blank, and just keep rolling, baby. Like I said at the top of this section, this game is super underrated and a perfect addition to Game Pass. I could see someone blowing through this in a weekend and just binging it. Check it out. Number 3 is Chants of Sennaar. This is a really unique puzzle mystery game. I'm not really sure what genre to put it in, but in the game, you're navigating a civilization that speaks a language you don't understand at all. It's all these kind of symbols that really don't make any sense. And the whole object of this game is to basically fill out a journal and learn the language using context clues. I don't think that necessarily sounds like the most dynamic gameplay, but the mystery here is really satisfying. Every new puzzle forces you to learn new parts of the language. And what's great too is in your notebook, you're able to make guesses on different words. And when you actually solve what they are, it's really, really satisfying to see how that compares to what you thought it was. This is a really neat, mellow mystery game. And for anyone who likes language or history, I think you're gonna love this. I am so excited to talk about Still Wakes the Deep. This is the most memorable, sunk its hooks into me game on this list by far. Fair warning, it's not going to be for everyone. This is a very harrowing, character-driven survival horror game, and it's mostly just walking around and running from monsters. I know that might not sound interesting, but for the right gamer, this is an incredible cinematic experience. You play as Kaz McCleary, a down-on-his-luck oil rig worker who's just about to leave the oil rig when disaster strikes. It's now up to you to just run for your life from a horrifying cosmic threat. I mean, the vibes here are so good, and the character work is great, voice acting is awesome. This is a really short, emotionally impactful game. You could play this in one night easy, and it would feel like just playing through a horror movie. And speaking of horror movies, there's a really cool grip mechanic in this game where you have to hold the triggers to hold on to ladders or anything you're climbing on. It's a great way to keep the tension up, because if you let go, you fall. If you're a survival horror fan, you absolutely have to check this out, and even if you're not, I would strongly recommend downloading it, keep the lights on, and just try it out and see how it goes. This is one that I feel like you can't miss. So Still Wakes the Deep should have been number 1 on this list, but then came Neon White. Now let me be clear, I think Still Wakes the Deep is the more memorable experience, but Neon White is just such a blast. I wasn't ready for how fun this game was. When I first saw trailers for it, I thought this was like a card-based game where everything was turn-based, but it's actually fully real-time action movement and combat. The closest comparison would be a first-person shooter, but where it's unique is you pick up these cards in each level, and they're all different weapons and abilities, and depending on whether or not you use the card or discard it, there's different effects that happen, and you're balancing these as you're running through levels, trying to clear them as fast as possible while killing all of these different demons. This is a speedrunner's dream for sure, and that's not necessarily my style, but I've still had so much fun with this game and continue to come back to it when I really should be working on this video. It's no surprise that this game is overwhelmingly positive on Steam and super high Metacritic and OpenCritic ratings. I think it's also just such a great palate cleanser. I think a lot of the time we get all bogged down in all the new releases and all the big, sprawling open world games. This just feels like a blast from the past, like a real game. It's frenetic, it's challenging, it's exciting. It's everything I could possibly want from a game after work, just sitting down to play for a couple hours. Don't sleep on Neon White. If you're looking for more ways to maximize your Game Pass membership and find your next favorite game, then consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this. And check out this video right here for my favorite game on Game Pass in 2024 and whether or not it's right for you. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Dylan. This is Beep Boop Loot. We'll see you in the next one.